Hi, boys and girls. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you had a nice Halloween, and now you're rested up and ready for school again. Today is Monday, November 2nd, and I am doing reading this week. So, in a little bit, you're going to need your small reading book, but for now, I just want you listening and thinking about what I'm going to be talking about. This week, we are going to be talking. Last week, we were talking about communities, and we talked a lot about jobs in communities. This week, we're talking about buildings and what buildings are made of, and thinking about the different kinds of buildings that you know, buildings in our community or in other communities or in your neighborhood. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week a lot in our reading things. So when we're thinking about buildings, a couple words that we're going to talk about today are materials. Materials. So materials, I wonder if you know, this picture kind of shows some materials that she needed. Materials are things used to make something else. So in this picture, she needs wood, glue, nails, and paint. Those are the materials that she needs to make this birdhouse. You can kind of see there's that hole for the birdhouse. So the word materials, those are things that you need to make something else. The other word today is shelter. Shelter. Do you know what shelter means? Shelter is a building that protects you or keeps you safe. So you can kind of see it's raining, and so they went underneath this shelter, this part of this building. When it started to rain, we ran into the shelter to stay warm. So thinking about buildings, those two things go right along with it. Shelter, it's a place where you go. It could be your home. It could be this, it could be school, and materials, things that are needed to make those shelters. Okay, thinking about shelters, actually we're going to wait. We're going to wait to do that. That's in your small book, but we're going to wait to talk about that in just a minute. I am going to read this big book called The Three Little Dassies. This is by Jan Brett. Three Little Dassies. In this book, each animal builds a shelter. So we're going to think about and listen if they use good materials to make their shelter. Okay, so there they are, the three little dassies. In this book, they're using things called quotation marks, and I'm going to show you what they look like. Quotation marks are talking marks, so they show that someone is saying something, okay? So on the side, and I'll try to remember to show you on the sides. On the sides, it kind of gives you a clue about what else is going on in the story that's not the main part of the story right then. So Jan Brett does that a lot in her books. Hot, hot, hot. The little dassies were almost grown up, and it was time for them to find their own place. Mimby, Pimby, and Timby waved goodbye to Mommy, Daddy, aunties, uncles, and all their cousins and set out for the distant mountain. Come and visit us, they shouted. A place cooler, a place less crowded, a place safe from big eagles. So there they go, these little animals. We can already tell this is fiction, right? So remember I said we were going to talk about quotations. You can see it here. These are talking marks, and where it starts, that's where the person is starting to talk. Come visit us, and there's the end. Those are the end of what they've said. It says they shouted, and here it starts again. A place cooler, a place less crowded, a place safe from big eagles, and there it is at the end. So those are called quotations. So there they are. They are off. They're going to make a place. So their goal is to make a place less crowded, a safe place, a cooler place. So look here. There is an eagle. Remember, they're trying to get away from eagles. The sisters traveled all day and all night across the Namib Desert, arriving at the foot of the mountain the next morning. This is where we will live, they agreed excitedly. And there it is again, quotation marks. Welcome, a squeaky voice called out from the scree. It came from a handsome, smiling Agama man, which we can't really see, I don't think, in this picture really yet. This might be, maybe. No one has lived here for a long, long time. Just me and a family of eagles up on the mountain. Eagles? The three little dassies shivered in the hot, hot sun. So it might not be a very good place to live because remember, they wanted to get away from the eagles. So I wonder if that's where they're going to build. There's that guy. Where would they build their houses? Mimbi eyed the long grasses. These grasses will make a lovely, cool house, she said, and she set to work cutting, twisting, braiding, and bundling. She finished in no time. Be near and dear sister, she said, crawling inside for a nap. And so I think this must be the other sister. So she's gathering these kinds of materials. So remember, we were wondering, what is each animal going to build their houses with? She used grass. So we're going to see, would that be good for their shelter, for their home? Uh-oh. I see an eagle. Pimby spotted pieces of driftwood, silver from the sun, lying in the sand of the dry riverbed. These will make a fine wooden house, she said, and she set about collecting as many pieces as she could find. When it was finished, she hung up a hammock and called out, "Be near and dear, sisters, while I rest my eyes." So there is her shelter, her house. So the first one used grasses. The second one used this wood. I wonder if this is going to be the next one. The last sister. Timby looked at the rocks around their mountain. Oh, I forgot to point out the eagle. Timby looked at the rocks around the mountain. "I will make a stone house," she said, "but it won't be as easy to build as one made of grasses or sticks." And it wasn't. She had to work all day in the hot sun to get it finished in time to sleep in it that night. Agama man had been watching them. He was happy they were staying on. He had missed having company. Okay, so the third sister made it out of rocks. Does this story remind you of another story maybe you've heard before? An animal that made their house of straw and then sticks and then bricks? I hope you know. Three Little Pigs. This is a lot like the Three Little Pigs with the big bad wolf. The three little Dassies slept late into the morning as the sun rose higher and higher in the sky. The eagle. The big old eagle who flew up on the mountain stretched his wings and flew down to look for a meal of hungry chicks. Mimby woke up hungry and went outside. Suddenly, a low-winged shadow, you can kind of see the shadow here. A low-winged shadow passed over her. "The eagle!" she cried, and she hurried back into her grass house. Oh, and there's that little guy. He's watching. So instead of the wolf, it's the eagle that might get them this time, or in this story. So we're going to see, because remember in Three Little Pigs, did the grass house or the house of straw hold up? No. So I bet you this one isn't. We can see here. There's that man watching. I see you, Dassie, the eagle screeched and swooped down. I'll flap and I'll clap and I'll blow your house in. It's a lot like Three Little Pigs. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. This is I'll flap and I'll clap and I'll blow your house in. He squawked, beating the air with his wings until the grass roof sailed off. The eagle grabbed Mimby and lifted her up, up, up to his nest. Uh-oh, that's pretty high. So her house did not hold her, so she did not make a good shelter. And there she is in the nest. These are baby eagles. But the eagle was greedy. He no sooner had dropped Mimby into the nest than he spotted Pimby in front of her stick house. Far below, 2 Dassies would be double delicious, he thought, and down he went, feathers flying. And there's that man watching. Pimby looked up and saw him coming. She turned and ran back inside. So do you think her stick or her wood house is going to protect her from the eagle? Let's see. The eagle landed. There's that man. The eagle landed and screeched, I'll flap and I'll clap and I'll blow your house in, he squawked. Twigs flew, sticks rattled until Pimby's stick house fell apart. So was it a good shelter? No. And then, just like Mimby, she felt herself being lifted high in the sky and plunked down in the eagle's nest. There she goes. And there's that man again. Timby looked out to call her sisters to come for a breakfast of tasty seed porridge. But instead of a grass house and a stick house, she saw a long shadow streaking across the rocks. You can kind of see it here. I see you, Dassie. Here I come. Oh, quotation marks. There are lots of them in stories. There they are in the nest. She is in her rock house. Will it be a good shelter? Oh, that man kind of looks like maybe he's coming to check it out. I wonder if he'll rescue them. The eagle landed and shrieked, I'll flap and I'll clap and I'll blow your house in. He flapped and clapped and beat his wings. Dust and sand blew everywhere, but the stone house didn't move. He tried again, flapping and clapping even harder. Dust and sand got in his eyes, but the stone house did not budge, just like in Three Little Pigs. So there they are. That man, well, it's not a man, but helping the others get out from the eagle's nest. When the dust settled, the stone house was still standing, but the eagle was coughing and sneezing. His wing feathers were bent and broken, and he was missing tail feathers. Knowing when to quit, he hopped his way up to his nest. At least he had 2 dassies waiting for his dinner. But he wouldn't. There they come. And there she is inside. She is safe. She worked hard to make a good shelter. The eagle reached his nest, but the dassies were gone. He looked down and saw them at the bottom of the mountain, heading for the stone house. It was his last chance. He streaked down toward the open chimney. So there he goes. He's going to go flying. They're trying to hurry to go inside. I guess this must be this. It's hard to tell. This must be the stone house. And there's the chimney. What do you think is going to happen? It's a lot like Three Little Pigs, isn't it? With the big bad wolf. That guy is pointing up. Inside, the 3 sisters hugged each other. I'm about to sneeze. Okay. There's nothing like a stone house when there are eagles abundant, meaning eagles around. There's nothing like a stone house. It's a good one. Just then the eagle tumbled down the chimney. I'll flap and I'll clap and I'll... A hot blast from the fire hit him. Fly home for a nap, he squealed, so he changed his mind. As fast as he could, he squeezed back up the chimney and flew home, all black and singed from the smoky fire. And Mimby, Pimby, and Timby never saw so much as a tail feather of that eagle again. A lot like Three Little Pigs. They're having company coming. Mommy, Daddy, aunties, uncles, and all their cousins and Agama man, too, had come to celebrate. Welcome, the sisters cried, to a place cooler, to a place less crowded, to a place safe from eagles. And there's that man. So it wasn't really safe at first, but it became safe, didn't it? And if you travel to Namibia today, you will see dassies living in stone houses with handsome Agama men looking out for them. As for the pesky eagles, they are easily spotted, for their feathers are as black as soot. Okay. Why do you think that the dassies shivered when Agama man tells them about the eagles, even though they were in the hot sun? What do you think? Because sometimes when we get scared, we shiver, don't we? Or something makes us nervous. So how did those 2 dassies that got caught by the eagle and they were in the eagle's nest, how did they escape? Do you remember? I will show you in the pictures. Agama man helped rescue them. He is a good guy. And which story or which shelter was the strongest? The one made of stone, just like in Three Little Pigs. Three Little Pigs, it's the brick house. This one, it is, there's the back of it. It is the stone house. Three Little Dassies by Jan Brett. Before we get your reading book out, we're going to go over some words for this week. I have them sitting over here, so hold on just a second. Just checking to make sure I'm covering everything. So, getting back to that story really quick. So, if you were going to tell someone about that story, that would mean that you would be like retelling it. What are some of the things that you would tell? You would say, what happened at the beginning? They lived in a crowded area and they wanted to move to a cooler place, less crowded place, and that didn't have eagles. So they moved to the mountain, and they built their shelters. What shelters did they build? The one built it out of grass, not a good shelter. The other one built it out of wood, better, but still not as good. And then the last one built it out of stone, right? And the eagle swooped down and ruined the grass house, swooped down and ruined the stick house, or I keep wanting to say sticks because of Three Little Pigs. The wood house, and he captured or kidnapped those animals, but the Agama man rescued them, right? And then they all moved into the stone house. So that's how you would retell somebody that story. Okay, the words for today, or for this week, are this word, live. L-I-V-E, live. It could be, we could say live also, but it's going to be live. Do you live in a tall building? Live. So it's really kind of like, it doesn't have an E on the end. Live. This is one of our words this week. This is an easy one. Whoops, wrong side. Three. T-H-R-E-E. Three. E on the end. When there's two E's together, usually it makes that E sound. Three. Sorry. I was reading what it said on the back. 3 people can fit in this tent. 3. The number word 3. We have another number word. 1. This is a tricky word to read because it sounds like there's a W at the beginning, but there's not. 1. This is the number word. If you won a prize, it's W-O-N, 1. This is the number word. This hut has room for one person. Let's spell it O-N-E, 1. Another word for this week. We have 5 words this week that are reading words. Then has short E. Then. Let's spell it T-H-E-N, then. We open the door and then we go out. That's what they're showing in the picture. We open the door and then we go out. So it's like you do it after you do something else. The last word, could. Could. There are a few words that are spelled like this. C-O-U-L-D, could. The other words would have a W at the beginning, would, and another word, SH, should. This can be a little bit tricky. Could. We don't hear the L in it. Could. They could build a house with logs. Could. Could. Those are our words for this week. Okay, now I need you to get out your small reading book that looks like, this is last week's story. I'll show you. Whoops. This one. The Reading Writing Workshop book, the smaller book. Okay? So get that. Pause if you need to go get it. And I'm going to have you turn to the page. Turn to this page 28. Turn to page 28. And it's the page that has all of these buildings. So we're talking about buildings. We're talking about shelter. What buildings do you know? And what are they made of? We kind of talked about in Three Little Dassies some things that their shelters were made of, their houses were made of. The grass, the wood, and the stone. Usually houses are made of wood. A lot of it are wood. So what kind of buildings are in this city? Notice that at the front, there are a lot of houses, but then in the back, there are a lot of tall buildings. People might live in those buildings, but also those might be places people work. Okay? So, does our town look like this? No. No. Knoxville doesn't look like this. Galesburg doesn't look like this. Gilson, none of those towns look like this. This is a big city. Okay, turn the page. Here are the words, and I showed you those pictures. Here are those words that we just went over. Could, live, one, then, three. And I said those sentences. They could build a house with logs. Do you live in a tall building? This hut has one room. We open the door and then we go out. And the last one, 3 people can fit in a tent. Let's turn the page. Here are, and your teacher may go through this again with you, but I just want to read these short U words. Okay? So we're on page 32, and we're going to go across just reading these short U words. Okay? I hope you're reading them at home. Up, fun, but, bus, cup, duck, bug, drum, mud, tub, tucked, stuff. All of those short U words. I hope you take some time to look at these pages and practice reading those short U words so you can become a better reader. Turn the page. Here is the story, and I like this story. I like the drawings in this story. Cubs in a hut. So you should be on page 34 in your book. And so just like we're going to talk about all this week. What buildings do you know? Think about buildings in your neighborhood or when you're on the bus to school or in the car to school or walking to school. And what are they made of? Read about how 3 cubs build a hut. So now they are going to build a hut. Let's see what they're going to build it of. Let's see if they're going to do a good job or if it's going to fall over like in Three Dassies. Cubs in a hut. Notice in the pictures, they each have a letter on their name, on their shirt. So I wonder if we're going to hear their names. R, G, well, I can't really see. This might be D, maybe? We'll see when we turn the page. The one in the red with the purple. Cubs in a hut. We can kind of see maybe they're starting to build that hut. They have wood. He has a wheelbarrow, hammer, a toolbox. Turn the page. Page 36. Everybody reading. Following along and reading, okay? Let's make a hut, said Gus. We could use mud, said Russ. It will be fun, said Bud. And there they have, oh, can you see in the little wheelbarrow in the mud, there's a little snail. So they're pulling that along and oh, it's a bee. It's a bee. Remember I said maybe D on the other page. There is a drawing that's kind of showing how they're going to make it. Let's read on page 37. The Cubs had a plan. Bud got a big stack of sticks. Russ and Gus got mud and grass. So they have their plan. What are they wanting to build? A hut, a place like a house, or maybe something just in the woods. So they're getting ready, and you can kind of see Gus. So we found out their names, Gus, Russ, and Bud. And that's why they have their letters on their shirts. So Gus has the grass, Russ has the mud, Bud has the sticks. I wonder if this is going to make a good hut, a good place for them to live. Turn the page, page 38. The Cubs did a very good job. Let's move in, yelled Russ. Yes, yes, yelled Bud and Gus. Do you see those quotation marks like I talked about before with the Three Little Dassies? Let's move in. There's quotation marks before let's, and there's quotation marks after that exclamation mark of in. So there they go, getting ready to move in. Let's see what they're going to put in the hut. Okay, page 39. The Cubs set up rugs and beds. They filled up the hut with lots of stuff. So what have they put in so far? Rugs and beds. You can see a blanket, a ball. I'm standing in the way. A picture frame of the three of them. Okay, they're putting some things in, just like we would do, right? Of course, this is fiction. This would not happen. Okay, turn the page. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I can see from the picture something's going to happen. Page 40. Then one night, 3 Cubs got up. Drip, drip, drip. My bed is wet, yelled Bud. We can see, did they do a good job on making their hut? I don't think so. My head is wet, yelled Gus. It's not fun to live in a wet hut, yelled Russ. So I wonder what they're going to do. How are they going to fix it? It's at night and it's raining. It wouldn't be fun to go out and try to fix it. But there they are. Page 42. We must fix it, said Bud. I hope you're reading with me. It will not drip on us, said Gus. We will not get wet, said Russ. There they are. What did they need to do? What did they need to use to fix it? By looking at the picture, we can tell. He had a hammer. You can tell they put some nails in and covered it with wood. So let's see if they did a good job fixing it. Page 43. It is good to live in a dry hut. 3 cubs are as snug as bugs in a rug. That's kind of a saying, as snug as bugs in a rug, like all snuggly and cozy in their beds, warm, dry. So were they able to fix it? Yeah, they were able to fix it. They're probably pretty tired. So this week also, besides talking about materials and buildings in our community, you know how we've been filling out those charts every week of details? This week we're going to start doing a different kind of chart, and it's going to be characters and settings and what happened there. Characters are the people, or in this book, the animals that are the main animals or main people of the story. Those are the characters. So in this story, who would the characters be? The bears. Bud, Russ, and Gus. Those would be the characters. And then we're going to talk about setting. I wonder if anybody knows what setting is. Setting is where they were in the story. And sometimes the setting can be one place at the beginning, and then a different place in the middle, and then a different place in the end. So the setting is where they were. And so they were in the forest. We could say they were inside their hut. At the end, or almost the end, they were up on the roof. That's the setting, where they were. And then the events, that's what happens. So we're going to talk about that this week and the next several weeks. Characters, setting, and what happens there. Okay, I'm just going to look and make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Hold on just a second. Yep. Tomorrow we don't have school because it's voting day. And so I will be back on Wednesday to do more reading with you. And on Wednesday you'll need your big book. Of course, some of you will be at school on Wednesday. So you'll do it at school on Wednesday with your teacher. Okay. I enjoy doing reading with you this time. So I will see you again. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Bye.